Special guest this morning joining us, Stacy Besch, right? Is that correct? Besch. Okay. See, I should have known that, but I'm bad at names, so I apologize.
That's okay.
So, Stacy's going to be actually in the area coming up November 9th. You got a big thing going on. It's a Sunday night, 6 p.m., Duncan Hall. So I thought, wow, she's going to be in Duncan. I got to talk about her and see what she's doing in the big town of Duncan.
Yeah, I'm excited about coming to Duncan.
Yeah. So what is it you got going on? It's kind of a serious deal that you got going on, or a talk, right?
It's a presentation. Yes. I've been doing these presentations for 2.5 years on behalf of Team Iowa. And it's not a fun topic. It's about human trafficking. It's something that people kind of don't want to think about, kind of dismiss, like it's not happening here in Iowa. And my role is to open people's eyes and ears to what is actually happening in Iowa, and especially our rural communities. And of course, Duncan falls right into that rural community, but it's really about bringing communities together so they can hear it.
Is there a lot in, because they always say Interstate 35 is kind of the traffic, and like we always think living in small tiny things, it's not going to happen here.
That's exactly what people think. In fact, I grew up probably just like you did with the Johnny Gosh days. So we think human trafficking is about kidnapping and the interstates, I-35, 80, 29. And so we're convinced that it's the truck stops and along the interstates. And then it's about kidnapping in the white creepy van. And I'm not saying that kidnapping doesn't happen, but it's a very small piece of the pie. It's far deeper and far greater than that. And in fact, there's a lot that is happening in our really tiny communities.
Did you start studying this way back when, or how'd you get involved in being a part of
it? For getting involved, again, I was naive because I thought it was about kidnapping, all the things I just stated. When I joined Team Iowa about almost 5 years ago, I became a member of Team Iowa, which we're just a group of volunteers. We're located all across the state. We get together on Zoom every Tuesday night to educate each other or bring special guests on and educate. But it was one time about 3 years ago, our state director, Steve Corey, who lives in Say Lakes, Iowa, he said, team, we got to figure out, how are we impacting the state? How are we making a difference? Let's figure out what our top challenges are. And human trafficking by far was the number one. And when I raised my hand and said I would take this on, I always tell the audiences, who on earth would say, I'll take on human trafficking?
Right.
Because I was really thinking probably what I thought it was before. But when I raised my hand, I was immediately thrown into meeting the top 3 detectives we had in our state. So this was just in the early 2023. So I was naive until 2023. And then when I started learning from those 3 guys, it was Greg Hall and David Gonzalez out of North Liberty, Iowa. And then it was Ray Fiedler. He's with the DCI out of Waukee. So I first started learning a lot from those guys. And then after that, then I was kind of learning from law enforcement, safe house directors. And then, of course, it ended up being numerous victims and survivors themselves is who I really started learning from. And then my education, I guess my background, we'll say, I've been a public speaker for over 25 years. So I took those skills and I put together a program, and then that's what I started doing. So in that late spring or early summer of 2023, I was probably going out and doing maybe 1 or 2 presentations a month. And, really as a volunteer, that seemed doable.
Sure.
And then the word started spreading. And when the word started spreading, it took off like wildfire. And by the end of this month of October, I will have completed 200 presentations as a volunteer to bring awareness on human trafficking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So is there a lot of that in the state of Iowa that you see or know of or heard of? Is it more on the east side, north side, west side? Where is it? Or all?
It's in every backyard. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. But when I learned from Greg and David back in 2023, at that time, they taught me that the state of Iowa was number 3 in the nation for human trafficking based on per capita.
No kidding. Wow.
And it is really bad. And when I say that, people are sitting there thinking, again, interstates, well, we're pretty safe up here in northern Iowa. But people don't realize that the majority of trafficking is through That
Oh,
the cell phone, right?
yeah.
So we have kids all over, and it could be as simple. It might start as sextortion. It might start as meeting that stranger online through Snapchat or online gaming apps and things like that. And I really get into some of the top apps in the presentation and what parents should look for, what the kids should look for. And then it starts with that. Well, the next thing is it's fraud, force, or coercion. Those are the definitions of human trafficking. And then they're being bought. And when they're being bought, they're being sold by a trafficker for sexual favors or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And a lot of these victims are so manipulated and threatened. It is the most underreported crime that we have out there is human trafficking.
Wow. So you may know somebody, I may know somebody that's been involved with something like that.
100%. And you will probably, if we would be able to showcase all the Johns out there. Now, Johns are the buyers of these people. You and I would know Johns as well.
Really? Wow. I mean, we talking like business owners? We talking just neighbors? What?
There's no specific profile for a John, like I'm going to back up here just a minute. We show a documentary for the beginning of the presentation called Grid Shock. Grid Shock was produced right here in Iowa by Vanessa McNeil. She's from Des Moines, but she graduated from Iowa State University and then UNI for her master's. But Vanessa did an excellent job of putting this documentary together that builds the foundation of what is human trafficking in Iowa and then who's involved, what is a John, what does a buyer look like, and then she gets into a little bit of our laws. So Team Iowa, we bought the educational license for that. So that becomes the first half of my presentation. The second half of the presentation is me verbally sharing actual stories that are happening all over our state. And I will name towns so that people, they come to the realization that really, I know where Renwick, Iowa is, or I know where, Okoboji is. And I start sharing stories. And then I get into what to look for, action steps. And of course, I get to the seed or the gate of all of this. So that's kind of what the presentation is all about. But now to back up to how we know people, they say in that film, because she interviews some great people who are instrumental down at our, state capitol, and of course, some of our law enforcement through the state, there's no specific profile. Most of the people don't have current, criminal records, but the average buyer is someone who wears a suit and tie to work every day and probably is married and has kids at home.
Really? Wow. You got me so intrigued on so is this whole thing on November 9th at Duncan? Is it for kids and parents? Is it a good thing?
Yeah, I would recommend highly. First of all, I want every parent to come because most parents, especially yours and my age or younger, again, we are naive. We grew up with that, like everybody's safe here in small town kind of mentality. Mm-hmm. So I would recommend not only every parent and grandparent come, but I do recommend 10 years and older come. And the reason is you'll even hear some stories of 8 and 9-year-olds who have been trafficked here in Iowa. And so I always tell parents, if you think your 8 or 9-year-old could handle it, I would bring them. But the reason I want people bringing 10-year-olds is because that's the most average, that's the most common age they go after is 10-year-olds, and especially boys age 10 and younger. And so boys are not immune to this at all. A lot of people think it's just girls, or they think it's higher up teenage girls or girls in their 20s. But the most highest paid commodity is a young boy who's 10 years old or younger.
No kidding. Wow. How old was Johnny Gosch when he got kidnapped?
He was 12 when he got kidnapped in 82.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember that because they had people talking about that, and his parents were up and talking. I can't remember where we saw it, but yeah, I mean, I went to that, and I was like, whoa. And then, of course, you got mom and dad going, see, it can happen anywhere. I'm going, well, I don't have a paper route.
Right. But remember, my parents, I'm sure your parents are the same. It was about stranger danger when we were growing up, especially after all of that with Johnny Gosch and Eugene Martin. My mom would be like, don't talk to strangers or your face will be on a, milk carton next week.
Yeah.
Well, these kids don't even know what that means, first of all. But here's where the strangers are, is on their cell phone. And yet parents, I hate to say this to parents, but I'm pretty bold with them. Like, they're clueless. Parents think that they know who their kids are talking to. And
right.
You'll hear me at that presentation sharing stories that will just blow your mind what's happening to our kids.
Wow. How long a presentation is it?
It's a 2-hour presentation. I know it sounds like a long time, but it is packed with education and information. It goes pretty quickly. And, I have a lot of people who've come to more than one because there's so much information in that first time that if you come to a second one or a third one, you pick up on information that you forgot about at the first one.
Sure. Does it cost, you said, to get in or no?
Absolutely free. I mean, because we want this education out there, mainly because we know that the number one way to eradicate this terrible crime in our state is to bring awareness. I mean, if we all think it's about kidnapping the interstates and so we just don't stop at the truck stop on I-80, was that really doing us any good when our kids are being lured in online? I mean, so we got to get the awareness out there. I'm a 100% volunteer. I don't say that to boast or brag. It's just that, I'm a mom. I care about our state. I care about our kids. I've been starting to get into schools. So last January was the first school that allowed me in, and it was St. Mary's in Remsen, Iowa, allowed me in. And that just, I thank them tremendously for having the faith to let their kids watch this.
Sure.
From 7th through 12th grade is what I usually recommend. Well, that just snowballed. So now I'm getting calls. In fact, right before I got on with you, I got a call from Kingsley asking if I'd come do a presentation for their students because the word is spreading like wildfire.
Yeah, I think we're in a scary time in our world and country right now.
Absolutely. In fact, I was just telling somebody, we're at a point in our life with our country and with our states that there is no time to be sitting in the stands and idling. I mean, those days are over. Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't start taking action and we start bringing back Christian values and start bringing awareness on the true demonic things that are happening. We're going to lose this country.
Yeah, I know. It's, look what we've gone through the last year.
100%.
Even the last 4 or 5 years, it's just been, you just see it with everything. And AI get involved and, that's only been out for a couple of years. And look how scary that is.
That's scary. Especially when we have these kids now, I bring up nude photos. These kids this is one of the things that is happening to our kids that starts to become a seed and a gateway for human trafficking. They think nothing of taking a nude photo on their phone anymore.
Right.
But even if they don't take a nude photo and they send, let's just say, a photo of themselves to a stranger online, with AI now, they're called deep fakes. So the AI takes their head, puts it on a nude body, and now sells that into child pornography.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes.
Boy, you got to go. Whether you got kids or grandkids or whatever it is, because it's scary. November 9th, Duncan Hall, and it's limited seating, I'm sure, because it holds about 1,000 people, maybe.
That's correct.
So
let's see if we can break the record. Our record so far is about 620 people have been to that's the biggest audience I've had.
Really? Oh yeah, let's break it in small town out. That's where I grew up.
Let's do it.
Yeah. 6 p.m. Duncan Hall, November 9th. Put that in your calendar. Tell if you don't have kids, you got friends or family that do have kids, tell them about it and come on down again. It's a free event. Stacy's going to be Besch. I thought I got it right.
You're close.
It's going to be
time's a charm.
Yeah. So get on down there. Stacy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today and get the word out and let people be aware of what's going on, because you probably have no idea, like Stacy said. So, but Stacy, thank you again.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. I hope to see you there.
Absolutely.